Alright, this video is for anybody who's trying to get clients through different channels right now and it's not working, or maybe you're just overwhelmed with the amount of different mechanisms and names you hear being thrown around in the industry, or maybe you're just confused as to if what you're doing right now is even the right play for you. Basically, anyone with an empty calendar, this video will make sure that you have the first step towards fixing that dialed by making sure that you have the right actual channel and acquisition system in place. And I've broken this video up into three main parts, which is basically going to be the high-level framework and methodology. Then I'm going to break down the different funnels that you can decide to use based on where you're currently at, and then at the end I'm going to break down the structure of every single funnel that you're going to want to follow to get the most out of it and to make them actually work. Alright, so part one, the high level framework and the methodology. Okay, now the best system for you to run is going to be highly dependent on where you currently are with revenue, if you have case studies, if you have capital, etc. I'm going to break down all the questions that you need to ask yourself in a later portion of this video, but for now you just need to know that there is no single best funnel to run. No funnel will, absolutely change your life, and every single funnel can work if you make it work, right? And that is why this video exists in the first place, okay? So what I found with working across all my clients, and just by observing other people in the space that are crushing it, is that there's a basic framework and sequence that anyone can follow as they progress and they move from basically acquisition system to acquisition system, right? That is that when you're starting out, your only choice is doing outbound, right? Like you literally cannot choose to do anything else because you have no leverage at all, right? But then what you want to do is you want to actually get some social proof, get some case studies, and then you want to move to some form of inbound, okay? Some form of paid advertising, ideally, because it's going to be way more predictable than content, okay? And then content is actually the last stage, contrary to what most people do. They try to just start off with content. That is when you literally become someone like Iman Gaji, Hormozi, Wes Watson, where you just have, heaps of content going out, you have an insane brand behind you, and that is basically how you just scale your business completely organically. Okay, we're obviously going to be building our brand throughout the entire process because that is literally a must, right? Like if you're not on camera anywhere, you aren't going to scale your business. That's just the truth. However, if you're relying solely on content right from the very beginning, just with the way that the platforms work nowadays, it's going to be really hard for you to get traction, really hard for you to scale, and really hard for you to actually have any predictability in your business whatsoever, because one of the main pillars, which is client acquisition, you're going to be relying solely on, the algorithm gods to bless you, right? Which is not what we want to do. Okay, so your primary goal is to sign a few clients organically through outbound or just through people you know, ideally. You want to get them killer results, establish proof of concept, and make sure that people actually realize that you know what you're talking about, and make sure that people actually want what you're selling. And then you can actually move to inbound to start properly scaling, right? And then unless you're at the level, as I said, of Hormozi, Mangaji, or Watson, you have no business in trying to start out with content alone. Okay, not only is every single social media platform dropping their organic reach, like I said, but also you do not have control whatsoever of your client acquisition when you decide to go with organic. Okay, and I was reading a book, it was Unscripted by MJ DeMarco, and one thing he talked about was the commandment of control. And that made me realize how important control really is, and that it is a commandment that I've just been following inside my business without even realizing it. Okay, and one of the places where the commandment of control actually makes sense to bring up is in your client acquisition. Okay, because one of the most important parts of growing your business is control. And if you do not have control over getting clients, which is what brings revenue into your business, then what are you doing? You literally do not have a business, right? What we want to do is we want to be able to predict our scale. Once you have an audience, word of mouth, tens of thousands of dollars to spend on content teams every single month to hammer volume, and once the compounding effect actually starts to kick in, that's when content is a flywheel that is difficult to stop, right? And that is exactly why we want to build it from the very beginning, right? However, if that is only what you're relying on from the very beginning, it's going to be pretty difficult to actually, scale predictably, right? And predictability, as well as control, is one of the most important factors when growing a business. So content, once again, is just going to be complementing our other acquisition, right? And we want to start building it now so that soon enough, we can actually make it so that all of our clients just come to us through content, and that we have built up a machine that is just going to, keep building on itself with time, and that we can just focus on, genuinely building the best service for our clients. So now, keeping this framework in mind, you may be thinking that, there's a lot of different inbound funnels, there's a lot of different ad funnels, there's a lot of different strategies that I can do for outbound, right? And that is what part two of this video is about, okay? So the structure of any funnel and how to actually make them work. I swapped part 2 and 3 around. I forgot to change them here, but basically I want to break down different funnels in step 3. But first of all, I actually wanted to cover the structure because I found that is just a better way to present this video for it to actually make sense for you guys. So we're going to break down the structure of any funnel that we're ever going to run and how to actually make them work. Okay, so I don't believe that there's a certain best funnel all around. Okay, and I think it would be stupid for me to say so, Since when you look at, like, I don't know, Alex Hormozy, for example, or any major business, right? Are they shitting on outbound and telling you to run a specific type of ad? Of course not. It's just these, online Instagram coaches, right, telling you to drop everything and just run this special ad, which is going to save you. Whereas all the big guys, all the people that are making the actual money, they're like, they're running different stuff. They're trying different stuff. They found the stuff that works for them and they're running it and they're scaling with it, right? They're not like shitting on any mechanism, right? Because they realize that everything can work if you make it work, right? It's just a matter of how you want to run your business. And I'll answer all these questions later on. But, point is, a lot of stuff can work, right? So I'm not going to be here telling you that there's a special ad that you should run that is the only ad that you should run, right? Because that's just not true. The ad actually, like, is probably the smallest part of the equation, like, as a whole, right? The ads don't matter nearly as much as you think, nearly as much as everything else. But that doesn't mean that from all the testing that I've done, that I haven't found that there are certain principles that we can apply to every single funnel that we run in order to make them work better and to actually get a return on them. Okay, every time I structure a funnel in this way that I'm going to present to you, like, I get way better returns than I ever otherwise would. Okay, and this has happened over and over again across both me and across all of the clients that I've worked with. Okay, and what you will notice is that these principles will immediately disqualify like half of the funnels that you guys are running right now. Okay, it's not because the type of ad, it's because the methodology behind them. All right, so now let's just take a look at how each and every funnel that we're ever going to run is going to be structured. If you want to follow this, if you don't, fair enough, but this is just what I'm trying to contribute. I don't know if you guys can see this. I switched the setup. Maybe I should probably leave it off of being full screen just to make sure. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a value-based ad, okay, or a value-based offer. If you're doing outbound, this applies exactly the same way. Okay, we're going to offer a lead magnet, and it's going to be extremely low friction because of that, okay, because we don't want to ask for anything straight away, because people just aren't going to ever respond, right? Just because of how sophisticated the market is and how much people are being pitched every single day. We want to lead with value, right? So it's going to be a value-based ad offering to give something away for free, right? We're going to offer a lead magnet, right? And then this lead magnet is literally this content asset, right? And this lead magnet is going to build trust, right? Because it's going to be an actual really valuable and really good lead magnet. It's going to be the entrance into our content matrix, okay? This is the content matrix. And it's basically going to mean that, I've talked about this in another video I have about lead magnets, is that the lead magnet is going to build immense trust and it's going to be an entry point into our sort of brand as a whole, into our world, right? Whether we want to do that with lead formats through capturing the information and then reaching out through phone, SMS, and emails, whether we want to do that through follower ads and getting the person to follow us and then reaching out through DMs, opening up different touch points, or whether we do that through DM ads where people, DM us, they get the asset, and then in the asset itself, there's links to all sorts of different resources and, like opt-ins, Facebook groups if you have them, booking calls, your YouTube, right? We just want to make sure that the prospect is spiderwebbed into our world as soon as possible. And then as they consume the asset, what we want to do is we want to start a one-on-one conversation to push them over the edge and into a call, right? Because some people, they will book calls after they see your content. However, a lot of people will need that extra push. And when you engage one-on-one, it's just the best way to, shorten a sales cycle because you're literally messaging someone and pushing them over to a call. So the way we're going to do that, obviously, is through either, Instagram DMs, SMS, a triage call through the phone number. I want to show you these different mechanisms in a second. But basically, you want to engage one-on-one in order to actually book the person in. Then once we engage one-on-one, they're going to hop on the call. And because on the call, they're actually warm, because you led with value throughout the entire process, you never ask them for anything, right? The whole process was just a whole bunch of value and trust building. You're going to close them, right? Because they're already pre-sold when they hop on the call. Right, so that is basically the process, okay? And as you can see, this value approach immediately gets rid of all the buy my stuff ads, book a free strategy session or 15 clients guaranteed or you don't pay, okay? In the most industries that you are going to be in, right, in most coaching industries, most agency industries, the market's trust has been broken so many times that they won't respond to offers where you just pitch straight away, okay? That's just what I found, unless maybe you have, insane authority, insane client results, and you are, the authority in the space. These people just aren't going to respond to you, okay, from what I found, unless you lead with value, right? And when you lead with value, that is when you actually also not only get more people, opting into your stuff and actually listening to you, which means that you have the opportunity to build more long-term relationships, you have more opportunities to close these people, but actually these people are more likely to actually listen to you and have a conversation with you because of the value we have provided, because of the reciprocity, okay? And if you make your lead magnets good, and if you actually provide genuine value, and if you're good at what you do, you will have a lot of people just consuming your stuff and being really, really engaged. Okay, which is ultimately the goal. So for most people, being super, super direct, on the other hand, instead of bringing in the highest quality leads with the value, being really, really direct is going to bring in the lowest quality leads, the leads that just want the guarantee, the leads that are typically, just attracted to the here, lose 30 pounds in 30 days, right? Or you don't pay. These type of leads, they're not going to put in the work. They're just looking for the quick fix, right? Which is not the type of people we want to attract, because those people aren't going to get the results, right? And the client results is literally the highest lever you can pull in your business, right? As I've said many times before, right? So hopefully now you can see how it's less about the call to action in your ad that is going to make the difference, but in the actual approach of playing long term, providing value, and then maximizing a whole bunch of different touch points with your leads through this content matrix. And I want to break down this model. This model is, meaning this model, I'm going to break this down in another video, way more in depth, but this, I just thought I'd actually mention this in this video, because otherwise it wouldn't make any sense. Part 3, this should say part 3, is the different funnels breakdown that I was talking about, okay? And this is where we're going to go into the details, which is basically how to choose the platform where you run your ads, and then how to choose the actual funnel. So am I going to run a follower ad, a DM ad, a lead form ad, a VSL funnel? Am I going to run well, we're not going to run direct response, but am I going to run stuff on TikTok? Am I going to run stuff on Instagram? Am I going to run stuff through Google ads? Whatever. Okay, this is how we actually choose this, right? So starting off with the platform. Okay, now most of the time, for pretty much anybody, I am always going to recommend Instagram. Okay, and here's why. Most people focus on Instagram to grow their audience anyway, so that is where they have the most leverage, right? 2, almost every prospect you can imagine is on Instagram. Unless you're targeting very, very high level CEOs, they're also probably on Instagram, but they may be more active on LinkedIn. Unless you're targeting, 40, 50-year-old moms, they're going to be on Instagram, but you may be better off with Facebook. Okay, but for 99% of people, Instagram is where your quality leads are going to be at. And, I recommend you use it. Even if you're not really sure, then I recommend to go Instagram for all these other reasons that I'm going to break down as well, right? You can use your profile as an asset when running ads. Okay, people will click on it and they will gain trust because they see all the content you've been putting out. It's the only platform that allows you to constantly get in somebody's face with stories. You can post 20 stories a day. You're not really going to be punished with it. And it's a great way to just retarget people, get in their faces constantly, if you choose to do so, right? With stories come story highlights. Another crucial element, people can click on your profile and they can see, okay, this guy generates results, this guy has a YouTube, this guy has this value asset that I can take, here are his testimonials, here's what he's done for other people, and you can immediately just build way more trust than through any other platform. It allows for easy one-on-one conversations through the DMs with people that are interested, and Meta is the most powerful advertising engine on earth right now. Okay, and we're going to want to use the advertising engine, obviously. The only case where I would tell you to use something different is when you literally have zero content on Instagram, zero followers, and another platform of yours, like for example TikTok, is literally blowing up. Okay, then obviously TikTok is going to be the play. Unless none of your qualified prospects are on TikTok and you realize that, then you got to obviously start building something else elsewhere, right? But we're going to focus on Instagram. And now, the basically culmination point of this video. How do you actually choose the funnel? Okay, and this is where everything actually starts to get more interesting, okay? Because every funnel you run will follow the same structure as explained in part 2, but the specific funnel you want to use, as in the actual settings that you choose in the ads manager, this call to action in your ad, and the actual conversion mechanism. So, whether you call these people because you have their phone number, whether you DM them on Instagram, whether they DM you, whatever, will depend on your points of leverage, which I'm about to break down, and then also on your goals. Okay, so your points of leverage, this drawing I know looks ass, I gotta rebrand it, but this is basically the, point. You get the point, right? You're gonna look at your case studies, your audience, if you have capital, your current revenue, your niche, your expertise, do you have any relevant content out, and then what your offer actually is, and then from there you're gonna determine the channel, right? So you wanna ask yourself questions like, how much revenue am I generating? What's my budget? Am I selling B2B or B2C? Do I have case studies? Am I selling high ticket, low ticket? Right? If you're selling low ticket, this channel isn't for you. But the question's still here. How long term am I willing to play? How much time do I have available to allocate to this? Do I have a lot of content out? And am I already the authority in my niche? And then obviously many, many more, right? But these are the main 9 that I could think of just off the top of my head. But basically you get the point. But obviously I'm not just going to leave you with that. So here's an in-depth breakdown of the 4 major paid funnels and when I found that they work best, okay? So there are 4 main funnels that you can run in specific on Instagram, but on any platform. The premise is going to be the exact same, okay? And these are, DM ads, audience building ads, VSL funnels, and lead forms. These are the main 4 that I see people doing, and the main 4 that you really, can run. Obviously, you can add different conversion mechanisms off the back of these, but in terms of the actual ad itself, these are going to be the 4 that you actually want to run, okay? And basically, I've broken down the main benefits and then the main situations in which you want to run these, and I'm just going to run over these one by one, and then hopefully one of these resonates with where you're currently at, and then you can decide which one you want to use based on that, description. All right, so let's start off with DM ads, okay? They are more suitable for a B2B scenario, which is not to say that they don't work B2C. Okay, and the reason why I have this little paragraph in here is because audience building ads, so something for example like follower ads, they work way better B2C. B2C meaning you're selling to a normal consumer, right? So like if you're a fitness coach, if you're maybe a life coach, right? These type of people, B2C is going to experience an actual good ROAS from follower ads, from what I found. Okay. However, if you're selling something like B2B, right? So if you're a business coach or if you're maybe you're an agency, right? Then DM ads are going to be the play for you, right? But if you're a fitness coach, you can do follower ads. You're going to get a great return if you actually set them up right. And also, DM ads will still work for you. Okay, so that's not to say that DM ads don't work. Okay, for a B2C offer, both of these work really, really well. For a B2B offer, DM ads work way better in my opinion, just from what I've tested. What's good about these is that you actually get inbound messages, right, which are way warmer than outbound, right? So they are easier to convert, right? Because with something like the follower funnel, you actually go outbound to your followers. Both with the ads, you actually get inbound messages, people actually interested. So you have to put in less effort and have to be less of a ninja appointment setter to actually convert these people, which is awesome. And they are beginner friendly. So if you're like doing, as long as you have proof of concept, again, as long as you're past the stage of doing outbound and getting client results, you can run these, okay? And as long as you set them up right, once again, you're gonna get a great return. That's basically it when it comes to DM ads, okay? So I'm gonna go back and answer these questions again in a second in relation to all these funnels, but here's just a basic overview of every single one. Audience building ads, as I said, they work better B2C. The problem with these is that they have a longer they have a longer sales cycle, so you have to be more patient. Oftentimes people will just follow you. If you post content and if you're active, right, they will actually consume your content, and over a couple of months, they will end up warming up to your process, and they may DM you and actually say, okay, I want to get started, okay, because they just take way longer to convert because the ask is so low, right? They have the lowest friction CTA. So on the other hand, you're going to get the most leads, right? Because the CTA is lowest friction. But a problem is that you must have a solid brand, okay? I hear a lot of people saying that these ads are actually going to help you grow your brand, so we don't need a crazy brand. Obviously they're going to help you grow your brand, right? However, if you already have a solid brand, these are going to work 1,000 times better. If you have converting content on your page, these are going to work 1,000 times better. Okay. Also, they're beginner friendly, so as long as you have proof of concept, you can run these. But another sort of problem that I don't really like with these is that you will be forced to pump out content 24/7. Okay, if you want to squeeze the most juice out of it, you can obviously just post reels once a week, but if you want to maximize, efficiency, you will have to pump out content quite often. Then VSL funnel ads. For these, like if you're under like 30, 50K per month, don't even think about these. Okay, they require very little messaging. They're very hard to crack. They require a lot of social proof, and you already having super dialed messaging, a lot of proof of concept, and already being the guy in your niche. Okay, because they are the most direct. Okay, but because they're the most direct, they are also the most scalable. Okay, because you take these people off the platform, right? You literally just grab their information. It's a VSL, and then it's a call booking page. All you need is a setter dialing the leads, and that's all you really need, right? So they're the most scalable. But here you're going to have the least leads, and they require, a lot of testing to crack, okay? Because you need to really, really perfect these type of ads, and you need to be in a position to where you're able to leverage these. But once you crack them, on the other hand, you can really go crazy with these. Like for example, Cole Gordon, I like, don't quote me on this, but I think he's doing like 3 to 4 million with these ads, okay? So, like they work. They're very, very scalable, as you can see, right? But the thing is that they do require dialed messaging and a lot of social proof, okay? And then lead forms, right? These are, I'd say, less beginner friendly compared to these two because there's more moving parts, okay? They require more infrastructure, so more stuff to actually build out to make these work, right? But they are seemingly more powerful than these two because you directly and immediately have the person's data, okay? Which means that lead form, people fill out the lead form, you immediately have name, phone number, and email, right? And because you have that, that is very powerful, okay? Because you have that immediately before people even have to leave the platform and go into some form of landing page, which means that if you set this up right, you can get a lot of volume. And then what you can do is you can play around with different conversion mechanisms like placing, a Facebook group or a school group in the middle As soon as people opt in, they get redirected to the group. You can place that in there, and that will nurture people very, very well. And that way you can actually DM them on the group. You can, call them, you can SMS them, you can email them, and then you have a lot of different angles to play with because you collected that info. But then on the other hand, you can also get shitty leads if you don't play it right. Okay, it's a very tight balance between sort of, getting the right volume and then getting the right quality. Okay, because of how easy it is to just fill out the lead form, and as soon as they fill out the lead form, they are a lead to you. Because it's super, super easy. A lot of unqualified people may fill it out unless you add enough friction. But then again, if you add too much friction, you're not going to be getting that many leads, okay? Which is why there's, they're less beginner friendly because there's way more moving parts in here. And for these leads, they actually require a lot of backend behind the opt-in, and they require more work behind the opt-in to actually convert these people and get these ads to work best, okay? But once you do crack them, I feel like they are the most powerful, okay? Because you do have the most room and the most sort of options to play around with after you've actually collected the info. So, I mean, I hope that made sense. Okay, I don't know if that made sense, but I want to go back over the questions and hopefully the questions provide some more clarity. All right, so let's just quick fire these, okay? How much revenue am I generating? If you're doing like 30, 50K per month and you're really dialed, VSL funnels, sure, you can try them, right? If you're doing like less, like I don't know, 2 to 20K per month, these three are, the ones that are sort of qualified to run. What's my budget? VSL funnels, they require a larger budget also. That's something to keep in mind. For these, you don't need that bit much of a budget. Like 15 to 30 bucks will be, like enough to get you started on these. Am I selling B2C or B2B? B2C, these ads work very, very well. If you set them up right, B2B, I don't recommend going for these. Like you can launch them to try them, but I feel like DM ads are going to work way better. And also lead forms are going to work better. But lead forms again work both B2B and B2C. From what I've tested, do I have case studies? If so, how many? If you don't have any case studies, VSL funnel ads are going to be difficult. Okay. If you don't have case studies on these, you can get away with it, but obviously I'm not going to lie to you. They're going to work way better if you have case studies, which is why I recommend doing outbound, establishing proof of concept, like, making sure that people actually want what the hell you're selling and that you're not just, coming up with an offer that nobody actually wants and is willing to pay for, and you're not just burning money on ads. Then after you have that, then you can transition to ads. Am I saying high or low ticket? If you're low ticket, you shouldn't be here. So these are, all funnels designed towards high ticket. Like they can work low ticket. I wouldn't recommend doing audience building ads low ticket. DM ads probably not. VSL funnel ads more so, and lead form ads more so, because it's low ticket. You can be more direct, and you should be more direct. Just because the volume that you're going to be putting through the system. How long term am I willing to play? These ads are way more long term because they have the longest sales cycle, because they have the lowest friction call to action, right? And they also compound on itself like crazy because you're actually building your audience and then you're nurturing these people. How much time do I have available to allocate towards this? Now, audience building ads, they are probably the most time intensive because you are actually forced to pump out content and you actually need to, be active on your stories potentially. You need to actually DM these people. Whereas with DM ads, the DMs don't require as much work. And the people actually DM you, so you don't have to go outbound DMing every single follower that you have. VSL funnels are obviously going to be the most automated out of the process. You will need a setter to dial the opt-ins though. And then for lead forms, I would say they are somewhere in between because they're super direct. You don't need as much. You don't need to be pumping as much content out. However, if you're putting something like a Facebook group in the middle of this, what will be helpful is if you're actually active inside of the Facebook group, right? Do I have a lot of content out? Yeah, so if you have a lot of content out, if you have a really dialed in Instagram page, audience building ads can work great. Am I already the authority in my niche? If you are literally the go-to in your niche, VSL funnel ads and don't look back. Okay, I think that is it. I really hope that was helpful. I think that was a lot of information. I'm not sure if I structured it in the right way so that you could actually understand what I was talking about. But I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you got some value out of it. And that is basically what I wanted to cover. I hope that you have clarity over which acquisition model you should choose to leverage now, and that you realize that there's no single best model. And yeah, that is basically all I wanted to cover in this video. I really appreciate you watching. If you want to learn how we actually build all this out for our clients, like literally the whole acquisition systems, plus their actual backend systems and operations, and all the sort of good stuff, I'm going to link a video explaining like sort of what we do for our clients, so you can check that out if you want. If you already know what we do, or you're interested in learning how we can actually build your whole system out for you to make sure it crushes the first time, you can book a call with the link in the description of the video. And yeah, subscribe, and I'll speak to you guys soon.